can't, I can't get enough of that. My poor hemorrhoids. What really happened? The truth is, I went because he called me. He was in the pharmacology department, so we agreed to meet at 2:45 behind that building. We talked for a bit, and then around 3 o'clock we split up. And then later, when I went back, I found him lying there. I've been taking Coca X for the last 2 or 3 days, but I lost my bottle of it around lunchtime on the day of the accident. Mr. Wright, that's completely different than the testimony you gave previously. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was afraid you wouldn't believe the truth.
Forgive me if I say I hardly find your current testimony any more credible.
Miss May, please begin your cross-examination. Oh, please, Mr. Wright, please don't tell any more lies. Oh, boy. You tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Was it Mr. Swallow who indicated you should meet at 2:45? Yeah, and we were both there right on time. You said that the victim was in the pharmacology department, correct? Yeah, he was studying how to manufacture and improve pharmaceuticals.
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 God damn it.
Everyone called him the alchemist of you. An alchemist, I see. I gotta admit, it was a little suspicious. He had a whole laboratory and everything. It was filled with chemicals and strange machines that run on high voltage electricity. Oh, how fascinating. He sounds like he was quite an ambitious young man. What do I do? Maybe I should ask him for some more details. Forget about it. I was wondering if you could tell us more about the pharmacology department. Well, okay, sure, but I don't know all that much though. A little bit earlier in your testimony, you said something interesting. You said that the department uses strange machines that run on high voltage electricity. That's right, and they sure look dangerous. They all use non-standard voltages, so there are high voltage cables everywhere. High voltage cables. Yeah, and there were electrical poles set up all around the building. The high voltage cables run overhead around the roof. Finally, I think we're starting to get somewhere. Split up. No. Yeah. Hold it. It's rather unusual to catch a cold this time of year, isn't it? Yeah, I always get a little careless when the weather starts to warm up. I guess I shouldn't sleep with the window open this early in the spring, huh? I suppose common sense is not always common. So, did anyone else know that you were taking cold medicine? Well, I always took one after meals, so I'm pretty sure all my friends knew about it. Uh, on the day of the incident, what did you do for lunch? Huh? What does that have to do with anything? You can never be too sure. I always eat with I always eat with Dolly, just the two of us. Dolly's homemade lunches are just the greatest. Her mini omelets are magically delicious. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just felt like hurting someone all of a sudden. Jealousy or some shit like that. I think
Nah.
I think that's enough for now. So the defendant and the victim met at approximately at the time of his death. Hey, I ship it. And that the defendant returned to the scene for some unknown reason.
I'm not entirely convinced by its explanation about the medicine bottle either.
Let me be frank here, Mr. Wright. Your testimony cannot be trusted. What do you mean?
I knew it was too much work for a little girl.
Hmm. However, there is one mystery that still remains.
Yes, Your Honor?
How the murder was carried out, of course. Just how was the victim electrocuted? I don't believe the murder weapon has been produced yet, correct?
Well, You are correct, Your Honor.
Hmm. So how exactly was Mr. Swallow killed? If I could somehow establish how it was done, maybe I could still come out of this mess smelling like a rose. let's, let's establish one. Slam. Your Honor. Yes, Miss Fay. I believe that if we were to piece together everything we've heard up until now, we should be able to solve the mystery of how Mr. Swallow died. And that would be the most impressive.
Quite a brash statement coming from a rookie. But even a beginner like you must understand the basic rules of the court, yes? An attorney must be able to substantiate their argument with evidence.
Of course I know that. Actually, I've totally forgotten about that. Now then, Miss Fay, let me see what you've got. Show your exhibits A and B. And plus, show me how you believe the victim was electrocuted.
Judge, stay on the bus.
As for the cause of death, I say this picture captures it quite well. What? But there's nothing that even remotely resembles a murder weapon here. I'm afraid the defense is gonna have to explain this a little bit more detail. Miss Fay, where exactly in this photo is the murder weapon? Are you that blind, Judge?
It's G, of course he is.
Hey, G. Oh, G boy, have you been swimming lately? Well, naturally, it's right here. That, what is that? A severed electrical cable, I believe, Your Honor. Remember the testimony we've heard? The machines at the pharmacology students use in their experiments require high voltage, and because of that, there are special high voltage cables strung up everywhere. So then, the high voltage cable. Yes, the high voltage cable is the cause of death. That is the most likely explanation. That certainly sounds plausible. Well, Mr. Bain, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I believe some praise is in order.
Don't toy with me, old man.
Now, the victim's cause of death may indeed have been a high voltage cable. However, I want you to think about what that really implies. The only one who had the opportunity to use the cable as a murder weapon was the defendant.
That much is certainly true.
Yes, and that's not all. We have proof. Irrefutable proof that will establish that Mr. Wright was a murderer.
You do? Well, what is it?
His fingerprints.
Fingerprints? You mean the defendant's fingerprints were on something besides the medicine bottle?
Let's take another look at the crime scene photo. As you can see, the victim is wearing a leather jacket. And as you may know, leather holds fingerprints quite well.
You mean?
Yes, it was quite clearly imprinted on the chest area of the victim's jacket. The paw print of the defendant's very own hand.
What?
I can only think of one way Mr. Wright could have left a print like that. Intent of murder, he squarely pushed the victim towards the severed electrical cable.
Order! That's enough. I think we can conclude that there is no reason to continue with this cross-examination.
We're done.
Mr. Grossberg!
I'm right on the line. The show is over. I knew that boy was guilty from the first time I...
No, you're wrong. Mr. Wright is innocent. No further evidence is required to convince me of this man's guilt. Your Honor, at this time, I am prepared to render a verdict in this case. Do you have something further to add, Miss Fay? Slam. Is this what you want, Mr. Wright? Hmm? You still haven't told us the truth. The whole truth. If you don't say something now, the judge is going to hand out his verdict. But I can't just say it. If I told you what really happened, then that'd be... It's okay, Mr. Wright. I'm your attorney. You can trust me. Miss Fay. Wow, we're right back to Justice for All music. No matter what it is you have to say, I believe in you, and I'll represent you to the very end.
We've already established the defendant's guilt. There's no further need for him to say anything.
Wait a minute, Mr. Wright. I'll tell you what really happened.
I've already told you, Mr. Wright. There's no need for further.
I did it. I admit it. I pushed him. It's my fault. my fault that Doug Swallow is dead.
That girl, you shouldn't see her anymore.
Hey, it's none of your business.
I'm telling you for your sake. If you continue to see her, it's going to be bad news.
You're lying.
Just listen to me. There's something you need to know about that girl.
Stop it! Don't talk about her like that. Take that. Oh boy. What you just said, was that the truth? Yes, I was afraid. That if I told the truth, everyone would think I was the murderer for sure. Well, as things currently stand, we're all absolutely convinced you are. But please give me one more chance to explain. This time I swear I'll tell the whole truth. It'll be okay, won't it, Miss Fay? I believe in you. Oh, thank you. I still can't believe it. You really did push the victim.
Like my hemorrhoids are doing darn.
I don't even want to know what that is. It's doing the Harlem Shake.
The Harlem Shake was an old meme from the late 2000s.
Oh yeah, that's right. That fucking song. When I pushed the victim. Like, oh, he was talking bad about Dolly. Take that. I lost my temper and gave him a shove. At that moment, I heard some kind of a loud noise. A little while after I left, I started to get worried. So I went back, but he was just laying there, dead.
Well, the explanation is really quite simple. When you pushed him, Mr. Swallow flew back and touched the electrical cable. He died from the shock, and that, as they say, is that.
Simple explanation indeed.
At the time of the incident, a light rain had been falling. Wet from the rain, the victim was more easily electrocuted.
But when I pushed him, there was no any electrical cables nearby. If there had been something like that, I would have even noticed. That's true. Even a doofus like him could have missed that. Miss Fay, let me warn you right now that if your cross-examination doesn't yield any new facts, I intend to deliver my verdict without any further delay. Are we clear on that? Yes, Your Honor. Don't give up, Mia. If he is innocent, there must be some kind of evidence somewhere that will prove it. When I push the victim. I just remembered something.
Hmm?
Uh, if you press this statement here, something good will happen. So what kind of things did Mr. Swallow say to you? He said all sorts of terrible things about Dolly. He said she was a bad girl. Mm, is that all? Yup. Well, Miss Fay, you heard him himself. Oh, boy, you're not doing yourself any favors here, Mr. Wright. Please don't make this harder for me than it already is. Anyway, after he said that, I just she's a very, very bad girl. I love bad girls. Can you tell me about what happened in a little more detail? That guy, he just said what he wanted to say to me. And then he put on the jacket he was holding and started to leave. That's when I lost my temper and flew into a furious frenzy. I just gave him a light, gentle shove to the chest. And when you did that, there was no severed cable anywhere to be seen. Right, there was nothing like that at all.
But is it possible that you merely overlooked it?
Well, I guess it's possible. What are you doing? Don't let that guy steamroll over you like cheap asphalt. I believe what's important here is the moment the push occurred. Let's continue on with the testimony, witness. Hmm. Press here. A loud noise. And when would you say that what that loud noise was, Mr. Wright? I'm not sure, but it was really loud. It was like, snap! You know, come to think of it, I wonder what that was.
Clearly, Your Honor, it was the sound of the victim being electrocuted.
Slam. You're not qualified to decide that. What should I do? I'm treading on some dangerous ground here. As for more details. Mr. Wright, that loud noise you heard may be extremely important, so try to remember what it was. How do I put it? It was like a sharp crack. Aha! Could it have been... Yes, could it have been? Hurry up and tell us. When I pushed him, he dropped an umbrella he was holding. He fell right on top of it, and it broke. That was probably the noise I heard. An umbrella, huh? And how did that umbrella belong to the victim? Yeah, it was a plastic umbrella, cheap and frail, kind of like the owner. Then again, I wish I had any kind of umbrella. I was totally soaked to the bone. Miss Fay, what do you think? Is there something important in that testimony just now? Well,
It's
yes,
very important.
this is it, Mia. This is new information you've been waiting for. Slam. Of course it's important. No, this cheap umbrella is more than important. It's vital. I want to officially have it entered into the testimony.
How perfectly fitting. Flimsy information for flimsy lawyer.
The court agrees to the defense request. Witness, please add the bit to about the cheap umbrella to your testimony. After I shoved him, he fell on top of his own cheap umbrella. Hmm.
Actually, you have to present.
Oops. So Mr. Swallow fell on top of his umbrella, and you're certain of this? Yeah, he was right there under him. Actually, if it hadn't been under him, I was planning on borrowing for myself. The umbrella, you mean? Well, yeah, you see, I was wearing this sweater here. Dolly stayed up late for all nights at the time knitting for me. I didn't want the rain to dampen the handmade symbol of our love.
My stomach is not to be used as a personal supplement.
He kicked. I'm so sorry. Continue on with your testimony, witness. Oh my goodness. He just kicked Mr. Grossberg. Why didn't you testify about the umbrella from the very beginning? Come on, if I hadn't mentioned that, I would have been able to counter the prosecution's arguments earlier.
What do you mean by that?
Take another look at the crime scene photo. According to the Mr. Wright, the victim fell on top of this umbrella. However, if you look closely, the umbrella is nowhere near the victim. Actually, it's by the electrical pole. You're absolutely right. The conclusion here is obvious. After the defendant left, the victim moved from where he fell. In other words, slam. After he was pushed by the defendant, Mr. Swallow was still alive.
No!
I love his hair when it pulls it spiky on the top. Order. The victim, he moved. Mr. Payne, in the brain in this photo. Where is it now?
Well, it was collected by the police at the crime scene.
I wanted this presented as evidence immediately.
But the umbrella could have simply been blown over by the wind.
According to the testimony, the victim fell on top of the umbrella. There's simply no way it could have been blown there by the wind. I know this matter of the umbrella seems relatively trivial, but as long as the smallest doubt remains, I can't render a final judgment. However, I still find it hard to believe that a huge hole has been blown in the prosecution's case by the defendant's testimony. His testimony added to the court record. Mr. Payne, what are you chuckling about?
Pardon me, Your Honor. It seems I was expecting too much of a free ride. It was foolish to think I could establish guilt through cross-examination alone.
I'm afraid I don't follow what you're saying. Let me guess, you have another witness?
Exactly! And this witness testimony will be incontrovertible.
Well, who is this witness?
Miss Dahlia Hawthorne.
Dahlia Hawthorne? You don't mean Dolly?
I do, Your Honor. A defendant's very own lover is a witness to the whole thing. That's right. She was at the scene of the crime when the murder took place.
What?
I'm sorry to break the bad news to you, my dear.
Bad news? You couldn't be more wrong. Actually, I've been waiting for this.
You can't be serious. Well, what do you mean by that?
I think this is a good point for us to stop at. Court will now enter a 20-minute recess. Afterwards, we will listen to the testimony of Miss Delia Hawthorne. Miss Faye, I'm sorry about what happened back there. It's alright. At least you told us the truth in the end, Mr. Wright. Yeah, so I guess I could start to relax then, huh?
Well, that's my mind. You can't be serious. I'm providing such important facts.
But the next witness is my Dolly, right? She'll save me. I know she will. Why do you think that? Huh? What do you mean? She's the love of my life, that's why. The love of your life, huh? Would you mind telling me more about you and Miss Delia Hawthorne? Sure, no problem. Dolly and we first met at about 8 months ago, right here in this very courthouse. Actually, I'm studying to be a lawyer on the side, anyway. One day, she and I just bumped into each other in the reading room downstairs. That's why I really think it was fate that brought us together. As soon as I first set eyes on her, I knew she was the one for me. Oh, here, take a look at this. She gave this to me the day we met as a symbol of our love. She had been wearing it around her neck that day, but then she took it off, but before she gave it to me, she said, I want you to carry this.
But she gave it to you as a present, I see.
This darling little bottle is filled with memories of my darling little It certainly is a little bottle, alright. It makes me so happy. I'll show it to everyone I meet. I want to share my happiness with the whole world. Anyway, so after that, you and Miss Hawthorne started dating? Yeah, but she's so shy. Every time I see her, she always says the same thing to me. Please give it back now.
What a strange girl. Asking for a present back like that.
By the way, Mr. Wright, the day you first met Dolly Hawthorne 8 months ago, it wouldn't happen to have been on August 27th, would it? Huh? Yeah, it was. But how did you... This happened on August 27th, right here in this courthouse. What's this, some newspaper clipping? Let's see. Murder in the courthouse. Murder?
What are you reading there? Let me see that. Oh, I see. Mia, I think I understand what you're trying to say. And I think I understand why you suddenly took such a keen interest in this case. You believe there is some relationship between these two cases, am I correct?
Yup. I hope you don't mind, Mr. Grossberg. I need to finish this myself.
Ah, yes, but I'm afraid what you have will not be enough, my dear. I'll go and have a look at the downstairs reading room and see what else I can find.
Thank you.
I want to do whatever I can to be of help to you. Well, it looks like recess is almost over. We better all get moving.
I guess so. That recess sure seemed longer than 20 minutes, though. To be continued. Very lengthy first part, but yeah, a good start to this case. And we'll continue on with the second part of this trial next time on Let's Badly Dub Trials and Tribulations. See you guys then.